Let's start by making things run a little faster by turning off background apps. Now, how exactly do I do this? Well, I open up the Action Center to open up the Settings tool. Now, from the Settings tool, you might think I would go up to System. That would be incorrect. What I really want to do is go over here to Privacy. Click Privacy and click you have to scroll down a lot to the very bottom to the tab that says Background Apps. And it says here that we can choose which apps can run in the background. Well, the more apps you have running in the background, the more system resources get used and the slower your PC goes. So if you find any of these apps, like say VLC for Windows Store, that I don't need running at all, I can just click that off. And the next time I boot my computer, these computers will not be running and taking up system resources, draining my battery, and doing all that stuff. And you would, again, going to be surprised how many background apps you absolutely have running and how many you don't need running all the time. The other thing that happens is when you start up your PC, a ton of stuff gets started also. How do we configure what gets launched at startup and what doesn't? I'll show you how. I want to right-click on the taskbar to open up Task Manager. And from Task Manager, I want to select More Details. From here, I want to select the Startup screen. And now we see all the apps that are or have been launching at startup. If they're enabled, that means they're still launching at startup. If they're disabled, that means I've already disabled them. I can look at any app, any process, and again, there's a ton of them that are launching at startup, and decide which ones don't need to be started. I don't need the Logitech Download Assistant, for example, running all the time. I don't need to launch it at startup. I can disable that. Maybe I don't need something else. And we can also see, by the way, the impact on startup, whether it's low or high or medium. How do you make your hard drive run faster? Well, there's a way. And this way's been around for a long time in Windows. What I want to do is I want to open File Explorer and come down here to This PC. From the This PC, I want to select my hard drive that I want to optimize, and then come up here on the Manage tab, select the Manage tab, and select Optimize. Now, there are other ways to get to this, but this is the way you do it in Windows 10. I think it's a lot quicker than the old ways. We get the Optimize Drives dialog box. I can see the drive, whether it's fragmented or not. I could analyze the drive if I want. I could just click Optimize, but I might want to analyze it first to see, well, just how fragmented it is. When the analysis is done, it will tell us whether it's fragmented or not. This one is not, so I don't have to do much to it. But if I did want to defragment it, I could go ahead and defragment it from here. By the way, this defragmentation happens automatically, so you shouldn't have to do this unless you're really having some hard disk problems. Another way to speed up your PC is to not have it do all the visual effects that Windows likes to do in its graphical user interface. We want to right-click the Start button to open the Control Panel. And from the Control Panel, we can select System and Security. At this point, we want to scroll down and select System. And from here, we want to move to the left-hand side of the navigation panel and click Advanced System Settings. Now, this opens up the System Properties dialog box with the Advanced tab selected. And what I want to do is, under the Performance section, click Settings. At this point, we want to select the Visual Effects tab. Now, we can let Windows choose what's best for my computer, which is kind of to turn everything on. I can have it automatically adjust for Best Appearance, which will run slower. I can adjust for Best Performance, which will run faster, but it won't look as cool. Or I can select Custom Options. And basically here, I can turn on or off any of these visual settings, such as Desktop Peak and sliding in tooltips into view, etc., etc., etc. Once I've made my selections, I click OK, and I now hopefully have faster performance. Do you want to see how much free disk space you have on your computer? Well, here's how you do it. We can do it from within File Manager. So let's click to open File Manager, then select this PC, then go to the drive I want to check, in this case my hard disk drive C. I right-click and select Properties. This will open up the hard disk properties dialog box. I'm going to right here in the middle of the capacity. Nice little chart there, how much I have used and how much is free. There's another way to get more detail though. Let's go ahead and open up the Settings tool and select System. I want to come down here to Storage, and then I have all my drives listed. Now I can see in the chart pretty much the same thing, how much disk space is used out of how much is available for all the drives connected to my PC. I want more detail on a given drive. I click it. Now I see this colorful bar graph, what's using up the space basically. Whether it's yellow for documents, blue for system, red for pictures, another color blue for music, etc., etc. And it takes a while to load it up and get all the detail, but we can see the numbers there even if it hasn't generated the graph yet. But we can see on the main graph just what's using up what space. Now within that, if I want more detail, I can click the detail for a given type of item. I click Documents, I see the detail about that. I click Music. I can even then click View Music to see all the music that is stored on my computer. I can see the system files, what's taking up what space where, and get all this wonderful detail. What if you find you need space and you've got a bunch of apps on your computer that you're not using anymore? Well, we can get rid of them, and there's an easy way to do it. We want to come over here and open the Action panel, the Action Center, that is. Click All Settings, and we open up the Settings tool. From here, I want to click System. And from what we see next, I want to click Apps and Features. What we see next, after Windows takes its time generating the information, will be a list of all the applications installed on your computer. There they are. Now, I could also type in a given app name, sort by name, etc. But if I find an app that I want to get rid of, say again, I could sort by name, sort by size, sort by install date. I like sorting by size because I can see what's taking up the most space. Biggest is at the top, of course. So let's find an app that I don't want, that I can go ahead and uninstall. Let's say I don't use Firefox anymore. I click that, and I now have the option to uninstall. When I click Uninstall, it'll go through, it'll ask me if I really want to do it, and I click Uninstall again, and it will go through the uninstall process. We can see it kind of flashing there as it's doing its thinking. There we go. We've launched the uninstall wizard for that particular app. Some apps uninstall right away. Some have their own uninstall program. I click whatever I need to click, and that program gets uninstalled from my computer. When I'm done, I click Finish. And I can do this for any app installed here. If I'm not using it anymore, just get rid of it. I can also free up disk space by deleting unused files. Now I can go through and, of course, delete any file manually, but there's also an automated way to do it. Let's go ahead and click File Explorer here. Click this PC. Click the disk I want to manage, and then go over here and select the Manage tab. From here, I want to select Cleanup. This launches the Disk Cleanup tool, and it analyzes my system first, scans my system for what it can delete. Once it is done, and it might take a while, we see this list of what it can delete and how much space will be freed up. All I have to do is check those types of files that I want to get rid of, and that might be downloaded files, it might be the recycle bin, it might be temporary files, thumbnails, etc. I click those that I want to clean up. I could also clean up system files. That takes a lot longer, typically might not be worth the bang for the buck. But go ahead and select those files that I want to get rid of. It gives me a description of it. And then when I'm ready to delete the files, I click the OK button. And my disk is now cleaned up, and I freed up some disk space. If you are using a notebook PC, how can we make your battery last a little longer? Let me show you. Let's start by opening the Action Center, clicking All Settings, bringing up the Settings tool. Now I want to select System, and from the System page here, I want to scroll down and select the Battery Saver tab. I see an overview of my general battery usage. First of all, and I want to see more detail, all I have to do is click Battery Use. This shows me my battery usage across all apps. Honestly, I haven't been using my battery that much, so there's not a lot of information here to show on my screen, but in your case, you might see a lot more detail here on this screen. Now let's go back to the Battery Saver screen, and I want to turn on the Battery Saver. Now it does generally off when I'm charging, So if I unplug my PC, which I just did, now I can see I have this option. So let's go ahead and turn on the battery saver. I can then click battery saver settings to make some adjustments. I can decide whether to turn it on or off, at what level to turn battery saver on. It's set at 20% by default. I can turn off push notifications from any app when I'm in battery saver mode. I can lower the screen brightness when in battery saver mode. I can also click add an app to make sure that certain apps can still run in the background during battery saver mode. Again, I just turn it on and off right here from the battery saver screen when I'm on battery power. Can't do it if I'm on normal power. What about sleep mode on your computer? At what point will your computer go into sleep mode so it saves less battery power? Well, let's go ahead and open up the settings tool, click system, and come down here to where it says power and sleep. Now I've got my normal screen display, that is when my screen turns off, but then I have when it goes into sleep mode. On battery power, PC goes to sleep after anywhere from 3 minutes to, well, actually 1 minute to never. I want to set it at a nice level. On AC power, I might not ever want to go into sleep mode because it doesn't matter. I don't need to save the battery when I'm on AC power. But this is how we adjust sleep mode. Finally, there's a ton of computer management tools in Windows 10 that we can access. Let me show you some of these tools. Where do we find them? If we right-click the Start button, we see here an option for computer management. This brings up the computer management console. And from within that console, we have a ton of system tools that we can access. What am I talking about? We have a task scheduler that we can launch, event viewer, shared folders, local users and group properties, performance, device manager, all here. Under the storage section, we can access the disk management tool, which we're somewhat familiar with. We have the systems and applications setting. We can access system services and WMI control. These are all fairly more detailed, more technical things. The performance tool that we're going to see next shows us a lot of information about the performance of our system. We can see as we scroll down, there's a system summary, with lots of detailed information here that we can access. We could also click up here to access the resource monitor directly from this performance tool. We can also access device manager from the console here. If you're technical at all, you're probably familiar with device manager. This is what we use to get information about and manage all the devices inside and outside our computer system. All we have to do is select a device and go from there. There's an event viewer here in the console where we can view administrative events on the